ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजाः पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्। Sri Hanumanji, who is atop Mount Mahindra and has a very special posture with his feet firmly pressing down on the mountain, his two hands equally strong, pressing down so hard that the mountain is shaking, getting crushed, and it's about to become completely pulverized under the weight of Sri Hanumanji. And we know all this from the description earlier, that the Vidyadharas and their consorts left the pleasure groves of Mount Mahindra, and they were hearing all the sages say, and that's where we left off. They had said, Ramartham, Vanarartham cha Chikirshan Karma Dushkaram Samudrasya Param Param Dushprapam Praptum. That this Hanuman Praptum Ichchati, he desires to reach something that is very difficult to achieve, or he plans on achieving something that is possibly quite indomitable and impossible. Dushprapam. And what is that challenge? Samudrasya Param Param. This big, massive ocean, Param Samudrasya Param, on that side. This is Karma Dushkaram, very difficult task. Actually, impossible task. Chikirshan, he has a desire, he has a sankalpa, he has an intention. But having an intention is not enough. And this is the theme of today's topic, that success in one's endeavor requires certain aspects. And the very first thing here is, and this will be the theme, he says, Ramartham, Vanarartham. His whole intention is guided by Rama Artham, for the pleasure of, for the purpose of Sri Ramachandra. That means Ramachandra's mission is Hanuman's mission. He has made his mission of service to achieve Ramachandra's mission. And it's not just Ramachandra, he says Vanarartham, for the sake of, or for the benefit of, or for the success of, or for the intention of all the Vanaras as well. So he's not only a servant of Ramachandra, but he's also a servant of all the servants. Unless that purpose or the position by which one is executing some activity is not clear, then it is only karma dushkaram. It's not achievable. The humblest persons make the greatest success. And the opposite of that is pride. So Ramartham Vanarartham. Iti vidyadhara shrutva vachastesham mahatmanaha tam prameyam dadrushuhu parvate vanararshabham. So when Vidyadharas heard all this, while he was standing on the mountain, even they got a chance to completely absorb Sri Hanuman's form. And the form of Hanuman is, so our imagination could be that they're in the sky and they're looking down and Hanuman seems like this tiny person on a mountaintop. No, actually a gigantic body. They're shocked. Such a massive body sitting on this mountain. Dudhuve chasa Dudhuve chasa Romani chakampe chachalopamaha nanada sumahanadam sumahan iva toyadaha. So this Hanuman, who is so big, achalopamaha. So Romani chakampecha achalopamaha. He is like a mountain on a mountain. He's so big, mighty, unshakable, like a mountain on a mountain. And Sumahanadam. He made such a loud roar. He roared so loudly that the Vidyadharas had never heard something like this. And the only comparison Valmiki says is Sumahan iva toyodaha. Toya means water, and the means that which gives water, a cloud. Sometimes these massive clouds in the sky, they emanate a earth-shattering thunder. And Hanuman's roar was like that. And then the Vidyadhara saw that Hanuman circled or curved his tail just like a snake curls when captured by Garuda. So here the references are all with Garuda. And then he received within his tail all the strength that's there. His body, his tail, everything. The tail is curved like a snake. And with his hands and feet planted on the mountain, he breathed in fully. And so his body became tight. So this is all, I guess the parallel is when we see someone sitting on the top of a rocket and the rest of the rocket is getting ready to get launched. Generally, we hear a countdown, 10, 9, and then they flip all these switches. All the throttles are in full capacity. The rocket is developing the required thrust before it takes off. So that's from the physics side of things. From the yoga side of things, Hanumanji is showing how his body is first, he is going through the entire Ashtanga Yoga very, very quickly of his Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara. Pratyahara is that his senses have been withdrawn from any other engagement. His eyes are fixed towards the sky where he needs to fly. And then from here on, we will see dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. So Hanuman raised his eyes, envisioning his entire flight path. Margam alokya, he envisioned the entire path. Durar durvam pranihita ikshana. With his eyes and raised up, envisioning the entire flight path. Rurodha hridaye prana akasham avalokayan. And inside his heart and lungs, he held his breath. This is dhyana, dharana. All of them together. Now, which one is dhyana, which one dharana? Generally, you can't break them down like that. But dhyana means, in a very simple way, fixing one's mind on the objective. And dharana means that connection becomes unbroken. It's a flow. And samadhi is when all the senses, the body, mind, words are all fixed on the intention. So then this Hanuman, like who was a mighty person, was on his legs and his ears are bent. And just about when he is about to take off, he utters this beautiful words. So remember, Ramartham, Vanarartham was what the Vidyadharas heard. So we are going to get an insight into Hanuman's samadhi. Samadhi doesn't mean closing eyes and sitting in one place. Samadhi means that which guides a person from one moment to another. And in the life of a sadhaka, Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita that from one moment to another moment, the resolution or the determination keeps varying, because the objective also keeps varying. So he calls it Bahushakhahi Anantastra Buddhayo Avyavasayanam. The mind which is distracted constantly shifts from one thing to another, and from one moment to another, the intention starts to diminish and become weakened because there are conflicting objectives. Which objective should be always is still not fully formed in the mind of a sadhaka. So it's a practice. It requires practice, as Krishna says, as Rupa Goswami says. Without practice, one cannot come to that level of spontaneity. It doesn't become one's nature. So practice is required. Now Hanuman is showing us, although previously we may not have heard it, but these are all demonstrations of how well practiced he is, that he is in full samadhi. And so from one situation to another, he says, Buddhayo avyavasayanam. Because vyavasayatmika buddhi hasn't yet become very, very strong. So one may ask, what are the reasons that one's buddhi or intelligence or determination is not single-pointed? So Krishna says, Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam. Bhoga Aishwarya. The desire to enjoy, or the desire to exploit, the desire to grasp and hold on to everything. Aishwarya. Aishwarya means to express a sense of controllership. Generally, we say Aishwarya is wealth. But the word Aishwarya comes from, or is a derivative of the word Ishvara. what comes from sense of Ishvara is Aishwarya, the controllership. So enjoyment and controllership. Neither of them are there in the objects of the material world, but every living entity suffers from this or is conditioned by it. Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam. Saktanam means being attached. Prasaktanam, so the attachment is very, very strong. Taya apahata chetasam. Because of that connection or attraction or affinity for Bhoga and Aishwarya, one's chetasa, one's consciousness, apaharta, is lost, is stolen. And therefore Krishna says, vyavasayatmaka buddhi avyavasayinam is not there. Samadhau na vidhiyate. Samadhau na, the one cannot be in a state of samadhi. So that's the condition of, or the struggle of a sadhaka or someone who's not even in the process of yoga. Now, you cannot have samadhi without the idea of yoga. Yoga, literally, as we've heard it many, many, many times, means to connect. If one is not connected to the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna or Sri Ramachandra, without the objective of service, one cannot be in samadhi. There are many persons who can be very strongly connected to Sri Krishna, Sri Ramachandra, or any of their deity that they aspire for. But if it is not for service, but for getting something, it looks like in their sadhana there is a lot of vigor, but it is not called samadhi. Samadhi has to have the qualification of Ramartham, Vanarartham. There has to be the sense of service and in a position of a servant of a servant. Only success is possible that way. What seems like success in the world, you just have to give it a little time and it will all dismantle. So don't go by, or let's not be fooled by some semblance of success or one dimension of success only. At the end of the day, success is determined by many dimensions, or it's a convergence of many dimensions. So wealth, for example, just because someone is wealthy, they may be successful on a particular dimension. But even in that success, what all is included on that path needs to be carefully weighted. What are their inner contemplations about wealth? What are their inner contemplations about how to gather that wealth? What are their inner contemplations about how to utilize that wealth? They're all important. Now, I'm not saying wealth is not important. I'm saying it's very important. But more important is how one goes about it. So Hanumanji, who is in full samadhi at this point, is giving us evidence of his samadhi. This verse that I'm about to tell you, of course, is one of my favorite verses, but it is a very powerful verse. Anybody, if they are struggling to accomplish something in their service, in their life, this verse is the verse that puts everything into perspective. If we can hold on to every word of this verse, the intention behind this verse, and align ourselves in such an intention, that activity has to be successful, because Sri Hanumanji helps a person like that. So this is that wonderful verse. This is verse number 39. Yatha Raghava Nirmukta Sharah Svashana Vikramah Gachet Tadvat Gamishyami Lankam Ravana Palitam. Lovely, lovely verse. So, quite literally, Yatha Raghava Nirmuktah Sharaha. Just as in Sanskrit, wherever we hear in a verse Yatha, there should also be Tatha or Yadvat or Tadvat, sorry, Tadvat. So, just like Raghava Nirmukta Sharaha, just as an arrow released by Lord Ramachandra, Swashana Vikramaha moves at the speed of wind. Gachet, just as it goes, just as an arrow released by Ramachandra goes, Tadvat Gamishyami, I will also go just like that to Lankam Ravana Palitam. That Lanka which is being governed by Ravana. Fantastic. First of all, the intention or the objective is very clear. I want to be in Lanka that is being governed by or ruled by Ravana. Okay. Objective is clear. For many persons, what they want to achieve is also not clear. For him, it is very clear. All right. Then he says, I will go at the speed of wind. Swasana Vikramaha. I will also go at that speed. However, the most important thing is what he's carrying in his heart. Yatha Raghava Nirmukta Sharaha. Just as an arrow released by Ramachandra. Now, take Hanumanji out of the picture for a moment and envision an archer who has mounted an arrow on the bow and pulls on that string. The more he or she pulls, the greater the potential energy in the arrow. And then the archer is the one who aims at the object or target. Right? So the work is all done by the archer. The mounting of the arrow, the pulling of the bowstring, the focus and aiming on the target, and then releases it. So what the archer is releasing is his or her strength, because they have to hold the bow with one hand, pull the string with the other. That's what makes the arrow powerful. Otherwise, the arrow by itself cannot meet its target. We all are familiar with the word. It's called empowerment. So the archer empowers the arrow. And when the arrow hits the target, what does everyone say? What a wonderful archer. Nobody says, what a wonderful arrow. Of course, the arrow needs to be good, stable, well-balanced, has a sharp pointed tip. Its aerodynamics all have to be proper, no doubt about it. So we're going to come to that as well. But the credit goes to the archer. So Hanumanji is telling us that Yatha Raghava Nirmukta, that if I go to Lanka, not even if, I will go to Lanka for sure. Why? Because an arrow released by Ramachandra never misses its target. That confidence is there, that the Lord is always, always successful. And my success depends on how instrumental I am in the Lord's purpose. Yatha Raghava Nirmukta Sharaha. So the speed for the arrow is given by the archer. The target is given by the archer. The glory is the archer's. The work is done by the arrow. It has to travel. So Hanumanji is saying the glory all belongs to Sri Ramachandra. I am nothing but an instrument in his hands. Now, the arrow is not a sentient object. Hanuman is. But the sentient person is aligning himself to be or equating himself to an arrow, which means that he doesn't give up his own volition, he doesn't give up his own sense of intention, but he fully aligns it with the Lord's purpose and intention. This is samadhi. Wonderful verse. Anytime, if there is a sense of despondency or something's not going to, what most people miss out, and there is a danger of that, is they think of this verse as a means to make that work successful. Which, yes, this has the potency for it, sure. But for some work to be successful and a person to fully, I don't want to use the word enjoy, but fully relish the success depends on the intention by which it was carried out. And that is, I am an instrument in the hands of the Supreme Lord. And therefore the glory belongs to Sri Ramachandra, not to me. Hanumanji is not giving up his strength. He's not saying, oh, I'm not going to do anything. I'm fully dedicating myself to the Lord's intention and the purpose of his coming to this world. Now that is Hanumanji. For us, the hero that we are following, Sri Hanuman, is what is my purpose or goal in life, both on the big macro level and on a day-to-day basis, all the things that I need to accomplish. What is my intention? What is the purpose? And how can I go about those activities, whether I'm a mother, whether I am a father, whether I am an employee, whether I am a student, whether I am a friend, whether I am this, whatever roles we play. Are we, Hanumanji is telling us to carry that out in the mood of a servant of the servants. That all that I am doing has an ultimate purpose. The ultimate purpose is Ramartham, for the pleasure of Lord Ramachandra. And that sense of instrumentality is become so strong. And we've heard this in Bhagavad Gita, the famous phrase where Krishna says to Arjuna, Nimitta matra bhava savyasachi. Nimitta matra, just be an instrument. And he says to him, very, very interesting collection of words. He just didn't tell him, Nimitta matra bhava Arjuna. He didn't say, Nimitta matra bhava Partha. Nimitta matra bhava Savyasachi. Oh, you expert. Savyasachi means dexterous. So your skill is also there. But behind the skill is the intention. So it's not just skillful, but skillful and intending. So that samadhi is so strong in Hanuman. He says, next verse, Nahi drakshami yaditam lankayam janakatmajam. If I do not see that Sita, that daughter of King Janaka, Anenaiva hi vegena gamishyami suralayam. If I don't see her in Lanka, with the same speed, I will continue flying to the heavenly abodes. So we're thinking, oh, he's collecting strength to fly 800 miles. No, with that same velocity, he's going to go up into the heavenly realms. Yadiva tridiva sitam na draksham kritashramaha. Okay, if there in the tridiva, in the realm of the demigods, if I don't see her there, badhva rakshasa rajanam anayishyami ravanam, I will incarcerate, I will arrest Ravana, I will bind him and bring that king of the Rakshasas, Ravana, I'll bring him here. Because once you bring him here, he has to tell you where Sita is. Sarvatha kritakaryoham ishyami saha Sitayaha anayishyami valankam samutpatya saravanam. Or he says, doesn't matter. In all situations, sarvatha, krita karya, I will be successful in my work. Ahameshyami, that is my decision. That sahasitaya anayishyami va lankam. I will bring either Sita or I'll bring Ravana and the entire Lanka right here. Some utpatyam. I will pick up Lanka, Sir Ravanam and Ravana and bring him here. Regardless, this way or that way, I'll be successful. Now, because of his samadhi, the words and the phrases beginning with aham karishyami are not words of arrogance. They're not words of boastful confidence. These are words of a servant. The confidence is in the empowerment of Lord Ramachandra. He is very, very clear. He's been empowered. And what is making him speak that? That ring of Ramachandra. That ring was given to Sri Ramachandra by Janaka Maharaj. So the first phrase of referring to Sita is Janakatmajam, that daughter of Janaka. And so Hanumanji is, Sri Rupa Goswami tells us that our bhakti is nourished by Utsahan, Nishchayat, and Dhairyat. Do we see all of these there? Tat tat karma pravartanat. Sangatyaga satovriteh shadbir bhaktir prasiddhyati. Prasiddhyati becomes perfected, becomes nourished. So Siddhi is there, Utsahan is there, Dhairyat is there, Nishchay is there. Dhairyat is still not fully clear. It will come as he is flying, but Nishchaya is there. Yes, confidence in the Lord's empowerment. One may say, I have not been empowered like that. And that may not be necessarily true. We may not have been empowered in a specific activity, but we've all been empowered. The empowerment is already given. The rest of life's purpose is in fully harnessing that empowerment. Generally, a person thinks, I start my bhakti, somewhere along the line, I become empowered. No. Somehow, my spiritual master has to give me a life's purpose. Directly say, oh, such and such das or dasi, thou shall. That is when I become empowered. That's not a correct understanding necessarily, or I shouldn't say correct. It's not a complete understanding. Empowerment in a general sort of way for life to become successful, to fully manifest the soul beyond the encumbrance of the body has already been given. The rest of sadhana is our path to harnessing it. Then, as Hanumanji is speaking like this, he's becoming heavier and heavier. So we know, both from situations of Dhruva Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu. I'm using these examples just because we are students of Bhagavatam and we have something to relate to. That a little boy, Dhruva, by his yoga siddhi, he became so heavy, almost like the Supreme Lord, because these are all qualities of the Supreme Lord, Anima, Laghima, etc. So he's becoming heavier and heavier. Hiranyakashipu also became heavy. His entire body got emaciated. He preserved his life airs within his bone marrow, and there was flames all over. The universe was becoming heated up. In Dhruva Maharaja's case, because he stopped breathing, he was taking a breath once in 15 days. The movement of air in the universe slowed down, almost came to an arrest. These are all yoga siddhis. But in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, was done devotionally. And that's the contrast. In the case of Hiranyakashipu, although he got success in his tapasya, his intention was not Ramartham. In fact, it was quite the opposite. But success was there for both in that sense. But ultimately, if you look at all the other dimensions, what Dhruva got, what Hiranyakashipu got, completely different results. Eva muktva tu Hanuman Vanara Vanarottamaha. This monkey, who is the best among all the monkeys, spoke so. Utpapatha vegena vegavan vicharayan sampurnam iva chatmanam mene sa kapikunjaraha. So this Hanuman, who was ready to jump into the sky, thought of himself equal to Garuda. Now, this equal to Garuda is not an arrogance that, oh, I'm now equal to Garuda. He can feel the purpose is become so strong and focused, because Garuda is the associate of the Lord, whose purpose is always to fulfill the Lord's desire, both in terms of the heart and the ability. So he thought of himself equal to Garuda. One can also think of it this way, that he has full realization of his constitutional position. Like equal to Garuda, his spiritual identity is fully clear to him, that his service, his relationship with the Supreme Lord is fully clear, right? That's the definition of liberation. In the Bhagavatam we hear, muktva hitvanyatha swarupena vyavasthiti. Swarupena, in his own constitutional form. Although here he is having the form of Hanuman, it is a fully spiritualized spiritual form, and he has full understanding of his constitutional relationship. So this is all the words of, deeds of, and the body of a fully liberated person. We saw him, the end. Of course, it's very encapsulated, but not necessarily a sadhana, but there is aspects of sadhana, raga, bhava, and prema. Although the prema is from the dasya bhava or dasya rasa. And he says, he's become equal to Suparnam iva chatmanam. Suparnam is Garuda. Cha atmanam mene sa sabikunjara. Sa cha atmanam, he felt exactly self-same like Garuda. So I'm going to pause here and see if there are any comments from today's, last week's discussion. Any comments, any reflection you want to add? I may have missed something. Not I may have, I surely have missed something. Your own contemplation on Sri Hanuman or anything, please share and enrich me as well.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Kirti here.
Yeah.
The meditation of Lord Hanuman was very enlightening in the sense that he was not focused on just going to Lanka, which initially seemed the whole goal, but he's bringing it into perspective that the bigger purpose is to go find Sita. And should there be, in case that he doesn't find Sita, he's very clear what he wants to do.
Yes. In the beautiful Markine Bhagavad Dharma song, our hero Srila Prabhupada says, "O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like."
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Anything else? Let me ask you, was this exciting to hear Hanumanji's contemplations?
Yes, Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, got it. Any comments, thoughts? Can I give all of us a weekly exercise to work on? Would all of you be open to starting the day for the next 1 week? And if you want to take it further, fantastic. First, learn the verse. Yatha raghava nirmukta shara swashana vikrama gacche tadvat kamishyami lankam ravana palitam. Write it down, keep it in a place where you can read it, recite it, and learn it first. And every day add intention to that verse. So start the day with that intention. And during the day, as you go through at least 3 times a day, check, is the purpose clear? Is the intention strong? Do we need to recalibrate? And do we need to repurpose if we find ourselves off course? And I want to hear some contemplations or reflections from that exercise when we meet next week. I mean, you don't have to share, but if you share, it'll be Hanumanji's glory, no doubt. And Valmiki Rishi writing the entire Vaishnava theology in one verse. Just the way in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna puts the entire Vaishnava theology, although it's there everywhere, to tell Arjuna, hey, nimitta matra bhava savyasatri. Similarly, for us, he's been putting it here. And have a sense of, does my sense of, have a measure of, is my intention of being a servant of the servant of the servant, having some form and substance in it. Of course, don't expect magic within a week. And if it happens, that's great. But at least if it orients us, then it is great success. And if you find success in your activities, so it's not just that, oh, I was trying to write a software program and I recited this verse and boom, it worked. Hanumanji is not a mechanic to come fix this or fix that. While that may be the case, that it may happen, but the real intention here is to reorient ourselves as an instrument of the Lord. What is the purpose behind that activity's success? What is my purpose? And can I see in a grander sense? Clear? I said a lot, but I hope the exercise is clear.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this exercise. I hope I can do justice to it. Prabhu, during the course of the day, like as you mentioned, as we go about our duties as a mother or as a spouse or as a servant, so we get influenced by the surroundings. So when we see others, sometimes there are desirable things that motivate us in our endeavors, and sometimes there are also undesirable things. I mean, not undesirable, like things happen and they also create a lot of fear and other negative effects on us. So when we are doing this recentering exercise, how should we handle those two? So usually mind tends to focus a little bit too much on the problems, and then if it focuses more on blessings, then it actually helps. But sometimes it's really hard to focus the mind on the blessings rather than just get fixated on the problems. So do you have any suggestions on that, Prabhu?
Well, first of all, thank you for taking the courage to ask. It is what it is. And if it is the case that there is some fear or anxiety, then acknowledge it, that it's there, and deal with it at that time, whatever way you want to deal with. And then, but use that as a learning platform, that when this situation happened, I noticed this fear or anxiety or sadness or whatever is the affect. And what was it telling me about myself? What is it? So go through that introspection exercise so that you start recognizing that their affect, that here are circumstances in which I feel this way. And so how can I be prepared before I'm walking into such situation, before I'll find myself in that situation. And when I find myself in that situation and I have this feeling, how am I going to resource myself? How will I address it? That's the practice. We don't deny our feelings ever. It is there. Feeling is there because something inside, feeling is an expression, a voice to what is inside. So hear it. It's important. And transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's always, most cases, gradual. So then the question to ask is, next time, or as I recognize this, what is one small thing I can do differently? So I can only give you a general roadmap, not something specific. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. I can't see everyone's names on screen, but no need to raise your hand. Whoever it is, just go ahead and speak. It says Sanatan Goparajan.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a very nice lecture. And Hanumanji's mission was a spiritual mission. So for the spiritual mission, he takes the opulences, takes opulence of Ram, and he can use it for the mission, and he gets it. But for our activities, when we cannot, it's like tapping the opulences from Krishna for our Krishna conscious activities. When we are fully doing the activity for Krishna consciousness, we can always get the strength and other opulences. But when we are doing it for other material activities, we cannot expect the same utilize the opulences of Krishna. And whatever you have been telling, will it be on spiritual activities or for the material activities? Whatever endeavor we are making,
Well, he's
unless
not.
we meet Krishna with our all the activities, then we can always use it. Otherwise, it is very difficult to achieve.
Well, thank you for your question. A little modification is he's not tapping into the opulences of the Lord necessarily. That's not his intention. We're talking of the term empowerment. It has far more than just, of course, everything is the Lord's vibhuti, no doubt. As a devotee or as a spiritual aspirant, our philosophy teaches us that we don't see things in terms of material and spiritual. The word material means separated from the Lord. So when we see something as separated from the Lord, it acts materially. And when we see anything and everything in relation to the Lord, it becomes spiritualized. So actually in the life of a bhakta, to whatever degree possible and progressively, there aren't any material activities. Certainly there are no materialistic activities, but no material activities. Okay, I shouldn't say no material activity. There are activities that people do, myself included, that I may not find a full connection with my spiritual purpose. For example, I'm even scared to give an example, but let's say, okay, some example for, let's say, recreation. Someone may play tennis or cricket or something. And that's, one will say, well, that's a material activity. Yes, but let the purpose be clear. Not that I'm enjoying cricket as a service to Krishna. As I'm speaking, I'm noticing that I'm probably digging my own grave here. But hey, I'm fine being vulnerable in the sense of giving that example, not about cricket because I like it. But the purpose of, let's say, playing cricket or tennis or something, is the purpose clear? It may be a way to relax. It may be a way to disconnect from whatever is being hit on us. And so that I may gather some peace and calmness so if the purpose should be clear. Now, I'm scared to go beyond this because it requires an entire seminar actually. A seminar is called on self-empathy, which I don't have the time to do it right now. So please don't take my words out of context. That I heard in Ramayana that you can watch cricket. So please don't do that with me. What I'm saying is the purpose, find ways in which it is purposeful properly, not making up one's own, but purposeful, such that over time, there are activities are spiritualized. I think I've said more than.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. I got it. Thank you.
I'm already feeling a little.
You have to make all the activities Krishna says. You have to Krishna says all the activities. Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Or Ramachandra, Ramartham.
Rama sir. Okay. Ram.
I'm teasing you. The Narayana Smriti, the Vishnu Smaranam, Rama Smaranam, Krishna Smaranam. For someone else, it may be Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana. Who knows what form of the Lord can inspire which devotee? Everything is wonderful. And let that form of the Lord inspire and let the person flourish in that relationship. And at some point, if there are activities, or if there are certain things that are still remaining material, then it is the case. We acknowledge that, and over time, with proper empowerment, knowledge, and one's own realization, slowly either that kind of activity may dissipate or go away, or it can become, or the purpose can become even more solidified. It's not that all activities that we do in a day are necessarily spiritual, at least not in my case, not yet. I aspire to someday.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Any final thoughts?